And we are again live and intruding on the airways out there in time and space. This is Game Source, podcast number 148, and also the NU Herald podcast. We are still broadcasting as far as, well, we're on iTunes on both those stations. We're also on podcast.com, and you can also find it also on YouTube. So I'm here again, Gerald Glassford, ready and willing, ready and able. And I'm here with my good friend and NU graduate, Mr. Josh Peterson. How does it feel, my friend?
It feels amazing. It was a long road, but it's satisfying in the end.
Indeed it is. And I hopefully will share that someday down the line. And I just, my congratulations out to you. A well-deserved, well-earned by as I've said before, the podcast, our dealings together as far as you're concerned have been nothing but top-notch, and I'm looking forward to what we can do together, and then looking also forward to what you're bringing to the table to audiences all over with all your upcoming work from all your different avenues that you're going through. So we just wish you tremendous amount of luck. But that sounds like something that I should say at the end of the podcast. So for now, let's start it off with some divisiveness, because past couple of weeks have brought out some media that has, well, fans, critics all over the place as far as their opinions on a couple different media formats. And we'll first touch on the game format, since it's the Game Source podcast. There's a little game called No Man's Sky, which released on PS4 and a couple days later to PC last week. And it is just, opinions have gone all over the place in regards to this space exploration game because of the very nature, how it looked, how it presented itself upon its initial offerings. And its results, now that it's been out in the wild for a few days, and even though it was one of the most popular startups for PS4 for a brand new IP, and also as well one of the biggest Steam launches of the year, it still has audiences going all over the place as far as, and critics are going all over the place on whether they liked it or didn't like it. It is truly definitely a divisive game indeed. I've just seen a considerable amount of time spent on it as far as it's concerned, watched it from afar, and just seen several different streams as far as it's concerned. And the game itself, the menu navigation that you constantly have to resort back to, and that the actual fact that you have to rudimentary the exploration as far as it's concerned can feel very much the same after a little while, whatnot. But also, if you really like the routine, can also be very engaging as well. So I ask you, Josh, have you had a chance to see No Man's Sky, and what are your initial thoughts and impressions on what will be down, right now is one of the most divisive games of 2016?
I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I've seen a lot of videos, read a lot of reviews on it. It sounds like people are upset about it because they didn't quite know what kind of game it would be. You think a lot of like space exploration games, you think of like Halo. That's what most people think of when Halo, Mass Effect, but it's not like that. It's different, but it's a good different. It's something that people haven't seen before, but you get to go out there and explore, but you're not going to get like the big cinematics like you do in these big titles. But I think it looks really good. I want to play it. It's tempting me to actually buy it. So, as soon as I get my hands on it, I'll let you know what I think of it.
Fair enough. And like I said, I've seen extensive amount. I think there are a lot of people like myself that are were really, really, like you said, that what they presented, what they showed was really interesting. But when the final product came out, it wasn't all that it appeared to be, with the constant, because obviously, you can't have a trailer about its constant going back to menu navigation, which is a necessity in this game. And like you said, there are no cinematic, really, big boss fights or big battle fights when you're fighting off 30 different aliens at one time. It's more of a systematic and categorical, as far as treasure hunt, as far as for minerals and products that you need in order to survive and thrive in the universe. Resource as far as gathering is concerned, buying and selling, that type of deal, in order to get to the center of the universe. Now, it for some this may be just what they've been looking for a long time, but for others, it can seem mundane. So I can see the diametric opposition to each other as far as opinions are concerned. I can clearly see why that is, but like I said, the game itself has been a very good launch, very good success story for the PS4, and something that obviously, kudos to Hello Games for being able to release something that has at least created a lot of interest. Josh, did you concur on that, or is it something you want else to add on No Man's Sky? Is it what intrigues you the most about what you've seen of No Man's Sky?
What I've seen, it's the idea of being able to explore. Like, you can explore space. There's literally like tons of places you can go, and that's something they did that a little bit with Mass Effect and maybe with Phantasy Star, but it's not, or Star Ocean, but it's not really something you see a lot of, just because a lot of game developers don't want to put the time into it.
And that algorithm that's like they have said, the developer said, the algorithm that creates the mathematical formula which creates the universe and galaxy that you're in, as far as it's concerned, and creates all those planets, creates all those star systems, which was a quadrillion or something, some ungodly number which no one will ever be able to finish in their entire lives from that end. Correct?
Correct.
So, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I mean, I can see why why people are so divisive over whether or not they like it, but it's, to some people it may be like the best game ever, to others it might be the worst game ever. But I think the developers, for not being like a AAA developer and not having the funds that a regular studio has, I think they created something fantastic.
And there are times when it looks really just so intriguing and so enjoyable. I just think there's just like there are times as well where it's not balanced, as far as it's concerned for some people's taste, as far as the coordination between resources, menu navigation, and actual gameplay. And I think that's what has created such a diverse opinions on the game. So, needless to say, it's still been a big hit for PlayStation 4 and also as well PC. So I probably will get my hands on it too at some point. I'm looking forward to it, going out in space, and hopefully it will be an experience that I won't soon forget. Just like I said as well for you. And speaking of experiences that you won't soon forget, we're going to talk about a little movie that has also created some divisiveness, and that movie is Suicide Squad. No, not Sausage Party. That seems to be a big hit, all around, whatnot. But it is Suicide Squad, which has taken #1 in the past 2 weeks, but has created quite an opinion as far as from fans who are all over the place as far as what they do and do not like about the film, to critics who, well, pretty much categorically have not enjoyed the film. And while it started off with a tremendous 100 million plus first week, which DC was definitely hoping for, what they weren't counting on, or what they weren't hoping for, was a dramatic 67% loss in its second week, which has obviously caused some concern in Warner Brothers. Obviously caused some concern with the DC universe, and also with fans. So I ask you, Josh, you, from seeing your comments, are one of the biggest supporters of the movie because you went to go see it recently and you enjoyed the heck out of it. So tell me your thoughts on Suicide Squad and what really it's all about and why people should go and see it.
Well, as someone who's read the comics, I knew what I was getting into when I went to go see it. A lot of people, I feel, the critics, they watch these movies, like especially obscure comics, like especially Suicide Squad. Deadpool got lucky, but Suicide Squad, nobody really knows a lot about Suicide Squad. They know Harley Quinn because that's the Joker's girlfriend, but they don't really know a whole lot about any of the other characters. So I feel like because of that, the critics kind of didn't really understand what it was. I think it was, people need to stop setting the bar so high with these movies. I think that was the problem too with David Ayer, and he didn't know that he was going to have this much pressure on him when he was making the movie. From what I understand, there's like 7 different cuts, and the studio got involved, and they kind of killed what could have been something really, really great. I mean,
but if I may,
yeah,
part of the reason why with casual fans and casual audiences, they are so, they become so interested in these type of products are the trailers, and you've got to admit that initial trailer was something that sparked audiences' fancy and got that buzz rolling.
right, and if you notice, there were some stuff in the trailers that weren't actually in the original film. So, because that was back then when the first trailer came out, they weren't expecting Batman vs Superman to have done as bad as it did. So you still had, David Ayer's original vision was still out there, and that was still what we were going to get. But then all the studio interference happened. I mean, even with the interference, it was still a decent movie. You just got to know what you're getting into. Personally, I mean, let me ask you this: do you think that with all these bad reviews, a lot of these reviews came out before the movie did, so do you think that if Warner Brothers were to stop letting critics view their films before they came out, do you think that would have affected box office numbers?
It gets back to No Man's Sky. Remember, they had a day one patch, and any reviews, copies, or anybody trying to look at the game and stream the game, review the game, didn't get really a chance to do so because they might have bought it previously by vendors that broke street date. Review copies were not handed out until the last minute, or they weren't able to go ahead and actually play a version of the game that Hello Games wanted them to represent until the actual day it launched. So you see all these reviews coming 3 or 4 days down the line, and people who were really, really excited for the game that didn't care about the reviews, they just went ahead and bought it anyways. So I could see the same thing for Suicide Squad as far as it's concerned, and Warner Brothers, go moving forward when it comes to, the upcoming universe, which will include the, Wonder Woman, which will include obviously Justice League, The Flash, Aquaman. When all those movies come out, I could see Warner Brothers being better off by not showing it to critics, because they have gone out of their way and tried to bend over backwards to prove to critics that the DC universe is headed in the right direction.
Yeah, and maybe okay, so that was the first week. From what I understand, it was the people who really wanted to see the movie, and they paid their money. And now that the reviews are out, people who were on the fence about it maybe will probably wait until it hits Redbox or Blu-ray, DVD, whatever. People are still buying, and it's if you read what the other filmmakers have said about the movie, they all liked it, and they don't understand where the bad reviews are coming from. So I think maybe the critics are just wrong here.
Well, like I said, I know you enjoyed the film immensely, but I can also I've seen dozens and dozens of individuals that have gone all over the place, from loving the film to absolutely categorically hating it because of whatever it is they expected out of it. And 67% tells me that there was a lot of word of mouth. Either people just saw the reviews finally and just decided, that this was not the movie that was going to get their fancy, or just they've heard from friends, they heard from family, they read on social media that it was not the movie that they should go to again. not go to either as well. I mean, 67% drop is concerning for any second week movie. Obviously, it was 69% with Batman versus Superman, and that was concerning enough as is. To have two movies in a row do so well out of the gate and drop so far so fast in the second offering. I think DC needs to take a look ahead as far as its upcoming slate of films and try to do what they can to prevent that from happening going forward. And one of the ways could be, like you said, and like you iterated to, maybe not even showing it to reviewers beforehand, because obviously that has not proven out to be something that's been very successful for them.
Yeah, right. They're kind of shooting themselves in the foot because now that DC's got I guess you can call it a track record, people want them to fail. Maybe not consciously they want them to fail, but kind of on a subconscious level, they want to judge these movies really harshly. And if I were to critique Suicide Squad and like Batman vs Superman for flaws in the storytelling, I would say they need to spend less time telling stories through flashbacks and more time putting audiences in what's actually happening in the moment. Because if you notice, Suicide Squad, all the backstory told through flashbacks. Batman vs Superman, all the backstory told through flashbacks. You kind of get too many flashbacks, and that because the flashbacks in Suicide Squad probably took up a good 30 minutes of the movie. So it's just little things that they can probably take notes from and kind of learn for their next release.
And that's true. But Wonder Woman does not look like it's going to have that problem because, in essence, it is one big 2-hour flashback because it goes back to World War I. So, there's no need to really go any further back as far as it's concerned. So that one may be a more cohesive film because of it. Obviously, you and I have commented on previous episodes that how good the trailer looks. Again, credit to DC, and Warner Brothers for creating these trailers that sparks fans' interest. It's just following it up with a polished, complete project. I think that's where the problem lies. But like I said, since Wonder Woman should not have that problem, and even Justice League to an extent, they've already set up that version. For the most part, obviously, it's now Ben Affleck, as you've seen in the footage shown at Comic-Con, him going out and actually searching out and seeking out the actual members of the Justice League. So I agree with you on extent as far as using flashbacks ad nauseum. That might be something that might put off fans, but I think it's something more that's just something is not connecting with the casual audience, and the casual audience is whatever medium is the audience is the connection you want to make, not to the hardcores, with all due respect to any hardcores out there as far as from the comic book, video game universe, or what have you. But when you connect with a general audience that's not as always passionate, but just wants to see a film that they can connect with, it's very hard to do so. But once you can, that's where your success lies in your second, your third week, as far as it's concerned, in sales. So this is where the Marvel franchise has flourished since, obviously since the Marvel universe has come to power. My question to you now, Josh, is: do you see DC making the efforts to try and make a more complete offering in the future as far as what that's concerned? Because they've recently also said that Man of Steel 2 is a go, and that movie was, again, had a similar type of reception to both Suicide Squad and also as well Batman versus Superman. So do you see the DC universe and Warner Brothers, obviously the movie company involved, going forward with a better plan and on how to actually strengthen the DC universe?
I do, but at the same time, I have my fears. So you see, though, what studio interference has done so far to these movies, that's my fear for the future, because they want these films to take off so badly, but they're obviously them putting their hands into those cookie jars haven't really done a whole lot for them. But I mean, I don't know if you saw the director's cut of Batman vs Superman. is like a completely different film, and it was I hated it in theaters, loved it on home video.
It does make quite a difference. I will agree with you on that, because I did not enjoy it very much in the theaters. I thought it was kind of a mess, and obviously, the fact that they get to go ahead and touch up everything, although it did give it a new rating, which is the reason why it couldn't be shown in theaters, because you want to retain that PG-13 rating and be able to market it to a wider audience. Only Deadpool is really the only superhero movie of its type that's in recent memory that has garnered an R rating that has been able to connect with a larger audience. So it's easy to see why the director's cut is so much better than the actual version that was shown on film.
Right. And what it also shows is that maybe they could learn how to shorten these films a little bit, because they've got, yeah, I love the director's cuts, but they've got, I think that's another thing. The original vision is so large that they have to cut so much out of it in order to get it into that slot that they want. And that causes a lot of incoherence with the audience.
It does indeed, and like I said, it's just at this point, I don't think all is lost, because, like I said, there's still, when you're able to get $130 million openings, out of your films, that shows me that there is, a number of individuals out there, a large audience that wants to go ahead and see these films and enjoy these films. So, I mean, you have that advantage of being able to still, no matter how many times you do it wrong, you're still able to grab a large audience and have an large audience be interested in your product. And that's not always the case as you see in films, video games, TV, what have you. So I think the future's still there for the DC Universe. It just needs to be done in a better fashion, and obviously better decisions need to be made. So one last thing on the DC Universe. Do you ever see it in the next, well, let's say, how much time do they need? How much time do they need, do you think, that they could be on a level? Let's say you are in charge of the DC Universe. Let's say you are in charge of DC, even though you're wearing that Captain America shirt on. How long would it take you to make some rational, common sense decisions in order to put it on a format where it's going up and into the point where it could be somewhat on par in the Marvel universe as far as it's concerned? And do you see that happening at some point in time realistically?
Well, I mean, I don't know I know they started filming Justice League, and they started filming, or Wonder Woman's already almost done filming. I think that from that point on, they should take a year and maybe kind of just see what they did wrong. Like, this is what I would do. I'd see what they did wrong, see what people didn't like about it, talk to people who actually read comic books and know, because that's your fan base right there. And I would just kind of try to reformat it to what, I mean, Marvel's obviously doing something right. So, but DC wants to keep that darker tone, which can work, but they just need to kind of figure out what they're doing wrong. Like, they don't need to rush movies out, is what I'm trying to say.
And I agree with you on that as well. I understand that it's sometimes also economically based decisions. Warner Brothers doesn't have a lot of properties that can generate over $500 million like the DC Universe films. Yeah, and we critics and fans blast DC Universe films for what they are, but how can you sneeze at something that garnered $870 million plus, like Batman vs Superman, or well over $600 million like Man of Steel, or something that's going to garner over $500 million like Suicide Squad? I mean, these are entities. It's not every day that you actually have properties within your own stable that can generate that kind of income. It's just trying to find a happy medium where you can see them going even further with it to where they get to a point where they're at a profitable venture for them. Because I understand that the cost involved in making these films is also a high cost indeed. So the jury's still out on where the DC movie universe is going to go, and we will hopefully see better things in the future, as far as from a general fan standpoint, on their hope and their perceptions of what the DC universe can do. I know, Josh, you like the film. You recommend it to people out there. And if you get a chance and you hadn't seen it yet, you might want to give Suicide Squad a try. It seems to me that Suicide Squad is a film that you need to see on a personal level in order to get your opinions on it. Because like I said, there's so many opinions that are all over the place on it. I think at this point in time, you just need to go see it yourself and find out if it's something that meets your fancy. So, agree, disagree?
I agree. Go watch it. Don't expect the big action sequences of Batman versus Superman, but go in and watch it for what it is, and then make your own decision.
Indeed, I agree with you on that wholeheartedly. And so, last thing I want to talk about is something that popped up the other day. Actually, I got a couple things I want to talk about. Today at Gamescom, the latest installment of the Metal Gear franchise was announced, and the Metal Gear franchise, which we thought may have been dead with longtime project director Kojima leaving, but unfortunately today, for many people's chagrin, because I know there's a lot of internet discussion out there that Metal Gear is going on and continuing without Kojima. But Metal Gear Survive was announced at Gamescom today by their parent company and the company that owns the rights to the Metal Gears franchise today. So I ask you, is with Konami making the decision today to introduce something like this, which will come out next year, by the way. It's going to be a 4-player co-op game. Is this something you're interested in, is this something that you think will ultimately succeed without without having the Kojima stamp on it?
I think that people are going to buy it, and they're going to play it, and they're not going to like it. They're going to play it strictly based on the title and the franchise, and then it's going to be something that to me, when I watched the trailer, it looks like they're basically taking a franchise that was able to stand on its own without all like the stuff that goes into modern video games that people love, and now they're taking and adding all that stuff like zombies. Like I don't just not my thing. There's too many zombie games out there. Metal Gear Solid was cool because it didn't need zombies. It was its own thing, and now it's kind of become a corporate game. And
that's funny because it's all seems to be transitioning more and more, especially with that zombies outlook, to the Resident Evil from Capcom, which is so funny because Resident Evil is transitioning from an action adventure game back to its horror roots. So it's kind of funny how that is all transpiring. What's been shown the past couple of days at Gamescom, but I agree with you. I think a lot of people are going to be interested in it because it says Metal Gear on it, and then once they see that it does not have the hand of Kojima involved in any way, shape, or form on it, they will pass on it very quickly. Indeed. And final thing for today I want to talk about is the rise again of the Xbox One. Never count out the Xbox One, I should say. And as a fellow Xbox One owner, it is good to hear that Xbox One was according to the MPD, was the biggest selling console as far as within the United States last month, the month of July. And that's their first month that they have won and beaten the PlayStation 4 since, I believe, October of last year, if I'm not mistaken. And if that's the case, that's a long time. It's almost good 10 months. And with the Xbox One S that was released this month, including a 2 terabyte version that has completely sold out almost everywhere in the entire world, things will be looking good again, and possibly a repeat for Xbox One is in form. So I ask you this, Josh, as a fellow Xbox One owner, do you feel reinvigorated about owning an Xbox One? And do you see continued good fortune with what titles are coming out as exclusives for the console maker?
I do, honestly. I feel Microsoft has kind of learned from their past mistakes, and they took note of what the fans wanted. The hard drive was the biggest thing for me, and now that they fixed that, and they've got a solid line of games coming up, I think they're gonna do really well. They got a lot of success ahead of them.
I personally think that the Xbox One S having the 2 terabytes is the key. I understand the Xbox One it's easy to add an external hard drive. I understand the software adapts to it quickly, and it's people can buy a 3, 4, 5 terabyte hard drive, and that's great, and attach it no problem. But I think for the ease of having it, people just want to have it. They don't want to go out and buy something extra. They don't want to go and buy this. They don't want to go buy that. They just want to buy it and have something that'll have a lot of space and that won't run out anytime soon. So I think that's why the lure is there. I don't think the 4K aspect is as big right now. I think it's going to take a little bit more as far as sales, another strong holiday season worth of 4K sales before that entity really comes into play. But definitely the 2 terabyte, I think, is the issue and the reason why it sold so strongly. Neo's going to be introduced, from all reports next month, and I know so PlayStation 4 and Sony's got something cooking that hopefully will garner a lot of interest as well. But right now, I see Xbox One possibly going on a roll, maybe even through the entire rest of the year, and that'll be a good sign for Xbox owners, good sign for Microsoft, and a validation that they can still compete in the console race. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, correct. I mean, it'll be interesting. The holidays will really tell what happens. You got, because all the high profile games, with the exception of The Last Guardian, are all cross console. So it's coming out for Xbox, PlayStation. So this holiday season will really be the tiebreaker, I guess you can call it. See what console sells the most games, sells the most consoles.
But then again, last holiday season, the Xbox owners had a bigger premium of exclusive games to choose from than PlayStation 4. Yet PlayStation 4 won out. Like I said, after that October win by Xbox, it was PlayStation 4 dominance for 10 straight months. So what can Xbox One do in order to keep that momentum going and be more competitive as far as from a sales standpoint?
They could. How much is the Xbox S right now?
Starts, I believe, at $299, then goes $350, and then the Xbox 2 terabyte. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you're still able to buy it on the planet, is $399.
Okay, so I mean, bundles work. They've really content, exclusive content is what people want. That's what drives people to buy consoles, in my opinion. Like a lot of Call of Duty players will buy a PlayStation because Sony gets all their content exclusive stuff before everybody else does, and that's what people want. So I mean, I don't know the science behind what sells consoles, but if I were to buy one, that would be a motivating factor.
And it is to me as well, because usually, that's when I buy. I bought basically 2 different times. When a console first comes out, because it gets automatically hits me, or when there's a really sweet bundle that just I cannot turn down. So I hear you on that one. And here's hoping that the holiday season will have a strong continued sales format with both PS4 and the Xbox One. But I think right now that looks good for Microsoft and the Xbox One format. So for the rest of the year, at least, until Neo can gain a foothold. But we'll see what happens in September when they talk more about it.
Yeah.
So that's going to do it for this episode. Since wow, some nasty feedback there, but it's going to do for us right now. Once again, check us out, yourgamesource.com. That's yourgamesource.com. On our regular podcast format, you will see all the different links right below our heads during the broadcast. But if you're listening, it's yourgamesource.com. at GameSource. As far as delivering you hundreds of news and information and articles each week. Also as well at Pop Culture Cosmo, which is also bringing you news and entertainment info from all around the galaxy as far as pop culture is concerned. And well, if you get a chance to check us out, we're on iTunes now and podcast.com and also yourgamesource.com. And our Facebook page is just simply GameSource and Pop Culture Cosmos. So any last thoughts before we head on out? Anything they need to check out from your end on what you're working on?
Just stay tuned. I got a new book coming out, probably gonna be out around September or October, called Congratulations You Suck. So just stay tuned. I'll give you some more details on that.
Definitely, as I said before, I'm definitely looking forward to that, especially if you decide to go on the Congratulations You Suck tour. As far as promotional and from bookstore to bookstore, I'd love to see the signs posted up around that. That would be awesome. But
me too.
But if that's the case, I do wish you all the best for that. Oh my goodness, feedback. So while we have a little bit of time left, just want to thank everybody for listening. Thank everybody for watching. Appreciate it. And so for Josh Peterson, I'm Gerald Glassford. We want to make sure that you're having a beautiful day in paradise, because I know I am, and I know Josh is as well. I want to thank Josh for being a part of the podcast. I want to thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have yourselves a great day. Without feedback, of course.